Okay, so let's talk about using and creating headings in Microsoft Word. So one of the things I want to do first is I need to get some text. So I'm going to enter our formula to create random text that we learned in the last video. So I'm going to get 5 paragraphs of 5 sentences generated here, and we'll use these to create some headings. Now most people actually will choose something like this and reformat it to make a heading. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to create some basic headings for a few of these areas just by selecting the first, some of the first sentence pieces or whatever to make this a little more realistic of what you might actually see in a document. So if we look at what standard practice is for most individuals, you would just take this and say, okay, I want to make it bold, I want to underline it, and I might want to make it 12 points so that it's a little bit bigger than everything else and it stands out. It is indeed a header that's above this, and I can take this element right here. So if I copy this and use Format Painter, I can grab this and see how it makes it the same. The Format Painter paints this over this. So if I, again, with this selected, click Format Painter and come down and select this, I made all of these look the same. Now these are headers, but there is a functionality built into Microsoft that is incredibly important for us to use within our styles box here on the Home tab. So I'm going to get rid of these headers, and I'm using Control-Z to just back up. So now I'm back to where we started. I just created some basic headers. And what I want to do is I want to select the text here, and we have 3 ways to select. We can left click and hold, drag all the way across. We can triple click and select everything, or we can come over here to where we see our little arrow and click and select the entire block. And I'm going to come up here and choose heading 1. And you can see that just by hovering over it, I haven't clicked, it shows me what the heading is going to look like. You would use heading 1 for the main topic, and then maybe heading 2, and there's heading 3s for topics underneath a main topic. But we're just going to stick with heading 1 for this. But you can see that it's blue, and we can change it to a different color afterwards so that it's standard format, because in academic writing, everything should be black. But it does add an element here that if I hover over it, you can see this little arrow. And what it's done is it's created a drop down here so that I can click on it again to open it up, but it creates a drop down saying everything underneath here is part of this heading. Likewise, if I select this information and say this is heading, or use a heading 1 again, we now have 2 headings. You can see that they both have drop downs, but if I come over here and hit this drop down, you can see that it shrinks the information down. This is really, really useful, especially when you have large documents with tons of information in it. And this way you can actually create subsections, or if you want to jump to different areas, you can just click through and then get to wherever you want to go easily. And it also has to do with creating a table of contents, which is something we're going to go over in the next video. So here I might select heading number 2. So it's a smaller heading. You can see that it's not quite as large as this. It's formatted differently. It shows that it's Calibri 13. This is Calibri 16, just like this one. So it's a little bit smaller, but it does in fact the same thing. And here, what you'll see is when I collapse this, that it takes the subheading underneath it. So the headings work on heading 1. If you have subheadings, they work independently but still belong to this heading here. This, again, is going to be part of what you're going to need to do for your assignment at the end of this week.